Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a quick couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this early morning or middle of the night bonus upload, shall we?
Today's first experience on the paranormal side. My 6-year-old son, who is now 14, told me when he was outside playing by our pond in our backyard that it got very quiet. He couldn't hear anything at all. But then he started to hear music coming from behind the pond. This isn't a rural area, Jacksonville, Florida, but the pond backed up to a wooded area, possibly a preserve. He said the music played and he followed it to the backside of the pond. There, he met what he described as shadow kids. At the time, he said they didn't talk, but they played with him. He said they played tag first, then built rock towers. Then he said they started to play hide and seek, and he was the seeker. He saw one and started to chase after it. He said it tripped over a rock and fell, so he stopped because all of the other shadows came out and surrounded it. Then 2 larger shadow people, he described them as being as big as a house, came out and sort of scolded him. He said it was menacing feeling, like they were angry, and it was his fault. He got scared, ran back into our house. He told me all of this ordeal, which sounded like it would have taken at least an hour with all the playing the different games they played. But he had only been outside for maybe 5 minutes while I was putting my swimsuit on, because I was going to go tan while he was outside playing. He was tired and even took a nap after. I didn't discredit his story. He isn't and never has been a liar. He has always had this whole Gryffindor, Harry Potter persona about him, so I knew he wasn't making it up. It bothered me a lot, but I didn't bring it up other than to ask if he had seen them ever again. He didn't, and even said he wished they would come back because he had so much fun playing with them. His accounts of shadow people were so different from my terrifying accounts that it confused me. A few years later, when he was 10, I asked him if he remembered the shadow kids and the music. Older now, he said yes. All of it was real as well. I remember playing with them for hours, and you weren't even worried about me. I thought I was going to be in trouble when I got back, but I was having so much fun. We talked about it a little and what they looked like. He told me that they were like shadows, but also like smoke. They weren't black. They were transparent, but also able to be seen. He says it's hard to describe, but the closest thing he can think of is mist or smoke. I've read a lot of crazy encounters, and I cannot believe the similarities. The silence, the music playing, the transparent figures, the loss of time. I just asked him if he remembered, and he at first tried to do the whole, "Mom, it was probably just temporary schizophrenia," because it embarrasses him now, I guess. When I told him I was asking because a bunch of people had the same thing happen to them, he eased up and started to talk about it. He said the music wasn't scary, it was nice. He again described the misty, smoky transparency of the shadow kids and how much the big one scared him. This time he added it was dark when he ran home and went to bed. Not sure if that was what he experienced at the time or his memory from being scared made him think it was dark. He did go straight to sleep. It was a sunny afternoon on a Florida summer day. My son was 6 years old when this happened. We moved to a new home a few weeks after this experience, and it never happened again. He said they were similar to us, just people but misty. He said the silence made him think he went deaf at first. He couldn't hear anything until the music started playing. The music played the whole time until he ran back into our home. On to my terrifying encounter. The year before my son's encounter, I was asleep in my bedroom with my Boston Terrier, Delgado. In the middle of the night, I woke up because I heard a loud crack. It sounded as if a large piece of plywood were to fall on a tile floor. I sat up, and so did my dog. My bedroom was shaped in the way where the doorway is sunken in, kind of in the shape of the state of Alabama, if Alabama had all the straight edges, with the southwest corner of the state being where my bedroom door was. I looked toward my door because I was going to get up and see what fell. My husband was on the couch in our living room playing video games on the other side of the wall. It was a small 900 square foot apartment, and I could hear the TV. I'll be damned if when I looked toward the door I saw someone standing there. I tried to adjust my eyes because my room was pretty dark. My bedroom window was huge, but it was facing a wooded area, so there wasn't any moonlight or lights of any kind. My eyes focused, and I could tell it was a man. I said my husband's name, thinking he was trying to scare me. I didn't get an answer. This man stepped out of the doorway. That's when I realized it was not anyone I knew. It was a person, and this person was at least 7 feet tall. Looked like a guy wearing normal clothes and a hat. Like maybe a baseball cap. It was so dark, but it was definitely a person. My dog saw it as well and started growling. That's when the good old cliche overwhelming sense of dread came over me. It was like it poured over me like water. I went from being curious to full adrenaline pumping. The dog was the confirmation I needed to snap me into survival mode. My thoughts are going 10,000 miles an hour. I darted my gaze to our bathroom door, which was also shut, and I knew I couldn't book it there in time before the guy closed in. I had nothing near me I could use as a weapon, and this guy was so big he was taking up all of the space in front of my closed bedroom door. The dog stood up next to me and started barking like crazy. I did the only thing I could manage, and that was start shouting. I screamed, "Who are you? What are you doing in my room?" No answer. He just stepped closer. His arms were bowed, and he was sort of hunched forward like he was coming to strangle me. As he inched forward, a thought crossed my mind that my husband has not responded to me yelling and the dog barking yet. And the fact that this person had somehow gotten past him undetected was physically impossible. I immediately thought this tall freak was someone that broke in to kill us, and they had gotten to my husband first and I was next. I wasn't going down without a fight, and I remember thinking he's gonna have to overkill me because I'm not going down like this. I started screaming bloody murder for anyone that could possibly hear me. The man was still silent and still getting closer. I'm sizing him up, thinking, maybe if he gets close enough I can kick him and run out of the door. I realized the way I was sitting wasn't good to be in a good position for that, so I started to adjust myself, all the while still screaming. Suddenly there's a light. My husband, my saving grace, comes tearing through the door and turns the light on. He's yelling, "What's going on? Who is it?" frantically looking around the room. I tell you no lies when I say this giant 7-foot tall, scary-ass serial killer man evaporated right in front of my eyes. It wasn't like the lights turned on and nothing was there. This thing slowly dissipated right in front of me. I watched it fade away, just like you would see a ghost in a movie, but it was more like 3D. Sort of like a water mist, if you had ever been to a water park or a theme park where they have those monsters that cool you off. It had on what looked like normal clothes, like jeans and shirts. I remember either the hat or the shirt looked sort of orange, but he had no face. It was maybe 2 feet away from me, hands stretched out like it was going to grab me. I could see my husband through it, and then it was gone. I have never been so shaken in my entire life. I was shaking, crying crocodile tears while my husband was so confused. He thought it was just a bad dream. Our neighbor called the police because of my screaming, and I had to tell the cops I had a nightmare, because I can't just tell a cop I saw a 7-foot tall monster in my bedroom. That was embarrassing. To this day, I know I was not sleeping. I know the difference between half dreaming and being asleep and dreaming. Dogs can't see your dreams either. I was so scared that night, I shook uncontrollably for hours. I'd literally been terrified to the point I couldn't stop trembling, which has never happened to me before, and I've had a rough life with plenty of scary real-life happenings. I couldn't sleep all night and didn't fall asleep by myself for years after. Today's second experience on the paranormal side. My family and I were living in a big house out in the country in the middle of nowhere, Illinois. When you pulled into our driveway, the house was to your left. The second floor of the house is where all 3 bedrooms are, plus 1 bathroom. From the driveway, looking at the second floor of the house, you would see a row of windows. That was the hallway connecting the bedrooms, with the bathroom in the center across from the row of windows. This hallway always gave me the creeps. I can't explain why, it just felt evil. I hated the hallway. I hated reaching the top of the stairs. I hated the few steps it took from the top of the stairs to get to my bedroom. I hated showering in that bathroom. The downstairs bathroom only had a tub, no shower. While showering, I always felt that I had to watch the door, glass doors. I hated that when I pulled into the driveway that I had to look at that row of windows to the hallway, I guess to make sure there was nothing there. Anyway, just all around creepy. One night my husband and I were lying in bed. I had just lied down, completely awake. It's pitch black, no lights on in the house, no street lights or cars on the road. We're surrounded by cornfields. You can tell if a car is coming by the headlights a mile down the road. After a couple of minutes, my eyes had adjusted to the dark. I could make out my doorway, the dresser, etc. I was looking toward the doorway when I saw the shadow of a large man enter into the bedroom, walk across the room, then disappear. I have read about shadow people before, but I thought they were just stories. I just couldn't understand what people meant when they said it was blacker than black until that moment. After a few seconds, I said to my husband, "Did you see that?" Not being specific about what I had saw because I wanted to know if he saw the same thing. With a shake in his voice, all he said was, "I don't want to talk about it." And I knew he did. We didn't discuss it until the next morning. He described the exact same thing I saw. Today's third experience on the paranormal side. I'm a 21-year-old non-binary college student, and my partner at the time was a trans woman. Because of this, my family was violent, threatening violence towards us. Thankfully, I moved out and put a significant amount of distance between us. The events did cause severe PTSD symptoms, which are now mild due to medication. This partner that I was with by my side pretty much 24/7 from April 2020 till April of 2021. But she turned out to be extremely emotionally abusive, so all of this is happening in February of 2021. I had left my abusive family about a month prior and was basically living with my abusive partner. Enter the Hatman, who probably sensed all of the chaos. My PTSD caused nightmares every night, really from November of 2020 up until July of 2021. Every night. One such night, February of 2021, I woke up from a nightmare about my mother finding me. However, something is wrong, and there is a distinct feeling in my ex's room that there is something that is not supposed to be in this room. Naturally, given the nature of my dream, I assumed my mother had found me. Wrong. I look directly above me, and there is a towering, guessing around 8 feet tall entity standing over the bed near where I was lying. This is where it gets strange. It seems like it was a Hatman. He did have a large hat, but the hat was black with white ribbon accents, as was his torso. He did seem to have the sometimes reported red eyes. It kind of looked like he was in some sort of restraint. I couldn't make out the shape of his arms, and his shoulders looked bent in on themselves. He disappeared after I shouted that he was not supposed to be in my room. Today's fourth experience on the paranormal side. This morning, as my fiance is going through old photos, she noticed something in the background. An old selfie with her bed in the background appears to have a completely dark shadow figure sitting on the bed. Despite there being light on the bed enough to see the color of the blanket, there was no one else in her apartment at the time of the photo, or so she thought. This is what she said about it. So I was scrolling through my Instagram deleted old pics when I came across something very creepy. It was a selfie from my old apartment on a day that I had just gotten back from work, and in the description it describes that I'm alone and that I'm about to pick up my roommate from her work. However, in the background of the image, you can clearly make out a figure trying to quickly dash off the screen. It almost looks like they had been sitting on the bed, realized I was about to take a pic, and then quickly tried to get up and out of the way. You could make out their head, the hunch of their back, and both arms, not to mention the shadow cast on the wall behind them. I have no idea what this could be. I've been looking over the image and sharing it with people. I'm stumped. I've never seen anything like this in all the photos, and all I can think about is the stories I hear where people are looking through their old photos and notice a ghost figure in the background. Needless to say, I'm a little creeped out, especially because my fiance pointed that this figure looks very similar to the figure that we have both seen around me at night. We have protective gems in each other's corner of our room that will keep an entity out, but we will see it peeking in sometimes around the corner at us. I have memories all the way back to my childhood of this shadowy entity peeking at me at night. So far, it doesn't seem to be violent or aggressive, more curious, a watcher of sorts. But we are still curious and cautious. We smudge our space, use gems that are purifying, which are meant to create a protective barrier against these beings. Very creepy, seeing as though we have seen this, what seems to be the same shadow figure lurking around us in our new home. I could never describe exactly what I was seeing to her, but that picture is exactly what I've been seeing. Other random things happen, such as cabinets opening, knocking, footsteps, and there are random handprints on our bathroom, on and around the mirror. Today's final experience on the paranormal side. When I was a teenager, my parents had built a custom home. It was one of the first houses to be built within the new housing development. It was their dream home until it wasn't, and little did they know that by building this house, that would unleash a nightmare. When the land across the street was being prepared for more houses, the local news station came out because it was discovered that this area once had been a Native American burial ground. Meanwhile, the activity at our house had just begun to peak. It began with our first Thanksgiving at the house. our entire family had seen a man in the middle of an empty field across the street from an upstairs window. He had a little dog and was crouched down in the middle of the field for a good 5 minutes when he suddenly disappeared. Then my friend and I would hear our first and middle names being called out, and she or I would often think the other would be calling for the other. In the age before teenagers had cell phones, I had my own house phone number that was separate from my parents' number. Our numbers were very similar to each other, and one Saturday morning my phone rang and I looked at the caller ID and saw my parents' number calling me from downstairs. I answered the phone and on instinct said, "Hey Mom, want to go to McDonald's?" It was morning and my cousin had spent the night. We saw her calling and thought it would be our shot to shoot. It came to our surprise that an eerie, low-toned man's voice asked for me and my cousin by our nicknames, Jade and Lovely. When I started questioning what was going on, the man replied, "I'm in your house," and I hung up. Then we had to try searching for some kind of weapon. Being 16, we grabbed some curling irons and headed downstairs. The layout of the house is that there was a double staircase and an area under the stairs, which was my niece's play closet. Realizing that my parents were not home, my cousin and I ran down one side of the staircase and out of the house. After a while, we got the courage to go back inside, and the door to the closet under the stairs was wide open. But other than that, no one was there. When we looked back on the house phone number that had called us, was not my mom or my dad's phone number, but my own phone number. But because the two lines are similar and they're under the same name, I think my mind just thought it was my mom calling. This was so weird and unfortunately only the beginning. A time later, I was on the house phone again late at night talking to a boy when the phone began to die. The base of the phone was in the office, and I walked downstairs in the dark, not wanting to wake my parents up because I was breaking the phone curfew. Instead of walking into the office, I walked straight into the bathroom. I even said aloud, "What am I doing here?" and thought I must be tired. I proceeded into the office, and staring straight at me with her hand directly over the base of the phone was a woman who had on a floor-length, all-white Victorian-style dress with a high neckline, long sleeves. She was staring straight at me with her hand over the base of the phone that I had in my hand. I did not turn my back on her, but began backing away slowly. She was not disappearing, and once I got to a point where I could run, I did. My brother, for some reason, left his longtime girlfriend and their younger daughter for some random girl. My mom let the new couple stay in the house. This woman was weird and left everyone with a bad feeling. The energy of the house was very heavy and everyone seemed to be at odds, fighting more often, and not the happy family we once were. The girl told me that she does black magic, and I told her we're not into that kind of thing. By the time I was 18, I told my mom that if she didn't get this girl out of the house, I was leaving. I knew I had to get out of there and ended up moving 45 minutes away. After I had already moved out, I would come back and visit. My mom finally kicked the girl out and came to her senses. One day she called me to come over because of something disturbing she had found. When I got there, she discovered a dark blue picnic basket that was filled with these strangely formed fabric dolls, or bunny-looking things that had pins stuck in them, and more random items wrapped in dark-colored fabric. My mom had a sewing room, and this was all of her stuff, but she had no idea how this basket had formed. Inside of the basket were personal items from every member in our family, except for my brother, my baby teeth, my mom and dad's wedding tape, and a personal item from my 2-year-old niece. The paranormal activity was at an all-time high in the home. These stories are only covering the surface of what happened, and they are only coming from my perspective. My mom and dad have their own horror stories. Also, my brother was killed 6 years ago. Meanwhile, at the time when I was 18, I got into a horrible car accident, which caused me to have to quit working and move back into the house with my parents. This is where I noticed the paranormal activity was also occurring outside of the house. My friend and I were sitting outside of the house in a car listening to music when we both saw something. I perceived it to be a 4-foot tall, blacker than black shadow figure of a person walking, bouncing across the grass. And she saw the same figure, although she perceived it as a white figure moving across the grass. My parents would tell me crazy stories of people following them and being weird outside of their home as well. Mom said there were an increasing number of license plates she noticed that were dark themed, such as N2SIN 666. And they would have a lot of weird incidences outside and around the house, and honestly, I didn't believe them. I thought they were just being paranoid. Shortly after I moved back, I went to see my friend one night, and at the stoplight there was a white man and a white woman in a pickup truck. They were both so creepy, windows down, both staring at me with their bodies and heads turned in my direction, and lifeless looks in their eyes. It was almost as if two zombies were just gazing at me during the duration of the red light, and I was trying not to look back, but I couldn't help it, and could feel their attention on me. They both hadn't moved, had light-colored eyes, and were staring creepily. Granted, this could have just been two addicts or something, but these people had identical body language that was so weird. There was only one other person who had ever looked like this, and it happened when my mom and I were in the grocery mart. There was a man that we refer to this day as White Eyes. He was tall, middle-aged, white male with piercing bluish white eyes, who was following us around the grocery, pushing an empty basket and just lifelessly staring at me and my mom with that blank look and head turned towards us, not breaking gaze in every aisle. We left that store. We have tried to bless the house, my mom and I, but that would only be a quick fix. Eventually, the house mysteriously burnt down. These experiences are true and have been life-transforming, and don't think that we have fully recovered. I mentioned that my brother was killed. My dad has had 2 suicide attempts since the house burning down. The paranormal activity has seemed to stop, but my dad has become mentally ill, and my physical health is really bad. Our family has had a lot of bad luck. My mom and I are very strong spiritually. My first childhood experience was seeing my grandfather as a ghost. I am not completely sure that the paranormal stalking is over, because last night I was with my mom and we started laughing because I noticed a license plate that was 6LAK666 and didn't think anything of it. But last night I had this dream which promoted me to share this. Dream 8319. I was back in the burnt house. I opened the door, walked in, and said, "Hello, house," to which an invisible force of wind came up and pinned me to the ceiling. I was surprised, but not terrified, and when I was let down, I started laughing and said, "Is that all you've got?" Which is pretty badass of me considering I'm 5'2". I'm not afraid because I've had experiences so much, but what I went through was traumatic and has affected me as a person. Man, that was horrifying. I don't know about you guys, but like I said in the beginning, I can deal with Dogman, I can deal with Bigfoot, I can possibly deal with seeing crawlers, but shadow people? Nah, not one bit. Actually, there's a place in Saratoga, New York, which is like 10 minutes down the road from me, that I plan on going to this summer with my equipment, and it's an old TB asylum, and there's been numerous sightings of shadow people there. I plan on going. I talked to a couple of the people that run the place, and it's going to be pretty cool. But anyway, that was supposed to be the last experience on the paranormal side for the evening. But this one, I think we've got to end it with this one because it fits with that last. The bonus experience on the paranormal side. I never really thought about it, but now I want to know what I saw. In advance, sorry for the bad English. After we built our new house on our land and started tearing down the old one, a figure started to appear through the back door and window. It always seemed agitated, irritated almost, but he didn't show up after we finished tearing the house down. This is just for the context of the story. A few days after all of this, I woke up during the night and saw a shadow. It didn't seem to have any presence, but it was there in the dark. I thought it may be sleep paralysis, which I've had twice as a child. I instinctively raised my arm to the lamp by my bed. I froze for a moment, realizing it was not sleep paralysis. I started to think it was some kind of optical illusion because it was so dark, and decided to turn the light on. But the thing didn't disappear. I could clearly see a shadow the size of a child standing about a foot from my face. It started to raise its hand towards me. I can't be sure, but I figured it was going to ask me something. But before it was done doing anything, I asked it to leave, turned my back, and tried to fall back to sleep. This shadow showed no hostility or intent at all. I could see it, but it was as if it didn't exist. Precisely because it didn't show anything, that entity was the most unsettling thing I ever witnessed.
And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed this early morning, middle of the night bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.